Hey guys, it's Mr. G. Week 5, criminal procedure. Again, apologize for being really crazy with posts and discussion boards and videos and being behind and things being crazy the last 2 weeks, but that's been my life. Moved my wife down from Virginia and she's over in Savannah, and moved my daughter to Savannah and got her enrolled in school and moving stuff from one house to another and doing things and getting crazy. But hopefully things are about to settle down. That's the beauty of online learning, right? Because it gives you a chance to have a crazy life and still get work done, and me to have a crazy life and still get work done. So if you're up on the videos, you've been doing week for week, sort of gone through the criminal process, and now this week was what? What did you watch this week? Actual trials. I showed trial footage. So you have Jeffrey Dahmer and you have some of that other stuff. And so we worked into what actually goes on in the courtroom in the trial. And since we're talking on trials, let me talk about one thing in particular that we need to know, or that you need to know, and people need to know in general, that people forget. Yes, there is the law, and things are written down. It's good to know the law. It's good to know what is going on when you walk into a courtroom, what you've been charged with, all those kind of things. It's good to know your rights. Now, you'll get on YouTube and some of these other things, and you'll see these videos with people that go and watch Bubba just got out of San Quentin, and he's going to tell you how to get out of a traffic ticket video, and then walk into a court. And the reason I say that is there's one I was watching. I wanted to post it, but it's kind of long, and the guy just really aggravated me by the end. I didn't want you to get confused and throw it in there. What I'm getting to is we have our criminal process, right? You have your rights, and you have this and that and everything else. When you walk into a courtroom and you stand before a judge, that judge is God. It's just like being on a ship and that captain having complete control of that ship. When you're in the courtroom, that judge has one thing that makes him almighty and all-powerful and gives him all control beyond whatever you think your rights or this or that or anything else are. And that is, I'm listening, contempt of court. What does contempt of court mean? Easy language: pissing off the judge. Did you get that? Contempt of court in easy language means pissing off the judge. If you're in contempt of court, it basically means you're doing something that's in violation of the court rules. And who sets the rules for that court? The judge. So if a judge says you can't come before me without wearing a tie, what had you best do? Wear a tie. Okay? If you come before the judge and the judge says, I've heard enough from you, sit down, be quiet, I need to talk to someone else, and you keep running your mouth because you say, you don't have authority over me under this, and and the judge says, sit down and shut up so I can talk to someone else, and you go, Arr! The judge can say, bailiff, get him, hold him in contempt, put him in jail. Now, guess what happens when you're in contempt of court? Guess what the time frame is when it comes to contempt of court? How long? How long? It's till whenever the judge stops being pissed off. You're in contempt of court until the judge says you are no longer in contempt of court. So it's good to know your rights. It's good to know the trial process. It's good to know everything you're supposed to be doing and all that. Don't become a YouTube lawyer. Don't go into court telling the judge he doesn't have jurisdiction over you because of bloody, 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 and he has no authority to do anything because of bloody, 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 and this and that and everything else. Go in court. Be respectful. Dress appropriately. Smile. Just, hi, Your Honor. I'm very remorseful is a good phrase to use if you're guilty of something. Your Honor, I just didn't do this. I'm innocent is another good one. But don't piss off the judge, because you will be in contempt of court, and you will be there until the judge says you are no longer in contempt, which can be a very, very, very long time. Now, case example, what I saw in this YouTube case was a kid got a speeding ticket. I mean, that's pretty cut and dry, right? You're speeding, you get a ticket. And then he got a no proof of insurance ticket. Pretty cut and dry, right? Speeding ticket, no proof of insurance. You're going too fast. The cop says, let me see your insurance. You say, I don't have it. Not a whole lot of argument there. Oh, this kid argued. This kid argued. So he goes for his first appearance, and they start asking questions, and he starts, Your Honor, I plead that you don't have jurisdiction over me because of... Your Honor says, okay, so and he starts talking over him because he knows this kid's watched YouTube or something, and he just, okay, so we're going to go ahead and you want to go ahead and enter a plea or not guilty, plea of guilty or not guilty. Because guess what, when you go there, you have to plead out so they can decide whether they're going to hear your case or they're going to remand it over to a jury case. So the kid said, I'm not going to plead anything because that acknowledges the power of this court, and I don't believe you have jurisdiction or whatever. And the judge looks over and says, okay, well, I'm going to enter a plea of not guilty and we'll remand you over to the Superior Court for a trial. And the kid goes, well, I don't agree with that because you're practicing law from the bench and you can't practice law from the bench and da-da-da. And this, God bless the judge, because he really didn't go off with this kid at that point. I mean, it was pretty, so, it's going through. And he meets with the district attorney, and same kind of story and all this. And the district attorney is trying to explain to him, hey, and first of all, he's illegally videoing this, which kind of came out later. So he's illegally videoing in the courtroom, and that kid's not good either. Don't go in there with your cell cam and try to record, and if the judge says you can't do it because the judge is going to hold you in contempt, and you can sit in jail forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. Amen. So don't do that kind of stuff. But he was trying to do it. He snuck in a camera or whatever. It was illegally recorded. Long story short is, this kid was beating Yahoo. He went there, didn't know what he was talking about. And his maximum fine for the speeding ticket was $1,000. He finally got in front of the judge, and the judge fined him $1,000. Fined him $1,000 for the no proof of insurance, fined him $1,000 for contempt of court, plus gave him community service. And if he had shut his mouth and gone in court and been respectful, he would have walked away with, maybe a couple $100 and that kind of deal. But he went in there and tried to be a Yahoo and tell the court what they can and can't do. And so they nailed him on the maximums. He's lucky he didn't sit in jail for longer than he did. He sat in jail for like 3 or 4 weeks before he decided he would go ahead and get smart and plead guilty and try to get out of there. So anyway, think about that. But now trials. Let's talk about what happens in trials. What goes on in a trial? There's 2 types of trials, right? There's a jury trial where you actually have a jury and you go in there and a jury decides and things like that. Now, you don't see it often, but a defendant can defer and say, I want a bench trial. Now, if a jury says, I want a bench trial, or a defendant says, I want a bench trial, what does that mean? That means, say you're in a jurisdiction where you've committed a crime and there's a judge that sits on the bench there that's kind of light on those crimes, and you never can be sure what a jury's going to do, but you know pretty much how the judge that's going to hear your case rules. So you want to bypass that jury because you think you have a better chance just sitting in front of the judge and letting him hear the case and decide whether you're guilty or innocent, plus rendering your sentencing. If you want to do that, you ask for a bench trial. And in that case, there's no jury present. Okay? Kind of puts the judge in an awkward place because the reason you have a jury and you have a judge is the jury's there to make a non-biased decision by your peers, and the judge is there to make sure that that trial is held constitutionally and nothing can happen to open it for appeal. So if you ask for a bench trial, it sort of gives you some leverage there too when it comes to appeal later, because a judge can't do both of those roles when it comes in. So you might have some appeal, but then when you ask for a bench, you sort of give away those rights as well. But whenever you hear bench, and we're talking about trials and things like that, bench just means the judge, okay? The bench refers to the judge because he sits up there in front of everybody on his big chair with a table around him. It's called the bench. The bench means the judge. So if you ask for a bench trial, it basically means all you want to do is present your case to a judge, and you want the judge to make all the decisions. Jury trial, we all know what a jury trial is, right? You go up and you go through jury trial. Now, what's the issues with jury trials? It's your peers. It's the people off the street who aren't really trained, who are swayed by public opinion, who may be biased or non-biased. And you go through the jury selection. We're going to talk more about juries next week. We're going to focus on juries. And I got a movie I want to show you. I've had problems loading movies to this because of copyright issues. So there's a good movie. I'm going to try to do it. Some of my other classes have been trying to post movies and it just hasn't worked. And I can't really have an in-class session where I show you a movie. So it's making things difficult for me. But we'll try to get a movie loaded next week about juries. But what I want you to understand about trials, we'll get all the way up to the trial. And when you have a trial, when you get there, you get before the jury selected, or you go before the judge, and you're found guilty or not guilty. Okay, then you move into sentencing. Here's what happens when you're found guilty. Your situation completely changes, and your rights to trials or to hearings completely change, because all of a sudden you've gone from innocent to guilty. So once you're found guilty, you have the rights to appeal, but you don't necessarily have the rights after those appeals are exhausted. Normally you only have a couple of appeals. After you've done your appeals and nothing's worked, you're still sitting in jail, you're guilty, and your rights to additional trials are done. So sometimes, even if there's new evidence that comes up, it doesn't guarantee that you're going to have a right to a new trial, because you've already been found guilty and your rights in the face of the law have changed. Okay, you're guilty. It's just like if you're found innocent, you can't be retried for that same crime. Well, it's kind of the same way if you're found guilty. If you're found guilty, even though you may be innocent, and things come up later, it's going to take a lot of evidence, a lot of proof to get that case retried or thrown out or re-examined for you to go back to trial. And even if they have a lot of evidence, you go back to trial, it's no guarantee that you're going to be found innocent, or what they do is they don't find you innocent. They throw out those charges, okay? And then you're done. So once you get that verdict, you go into the appeal process. And the appeals are basically saying, okay, this was the verdict, but we don't think it's correct because of normally constitutional issues. Appeals rarely have anything to do with evidence. Is what was offered. If the process of the trial was constitutional, meaning all your rights were adhered to in the trial, and was any evidence entered that wasn't constitutional? Was I mistreated because of race, gender, creed, anything like that? Was it jurisdictionally not fair because I couldn't receive a fair trial in this? Was I not given a lawyer in the right amount of time? Was my trial too quick? Did I not have time to build a case? All those kind of things. Appeals are basically looking at the constitutionality, and that's why appeals wind up going all the way up to the Supreme Court if necessary, the Supreme Court of the United States, because what does the Supreme Court of the United States hear? Not guilt or innocence, but constitutionality of the trial, of your conviction. So that's what appeals are going to be doing, okay? So go back and watch those videos. They're really for exposure, see what's going on. Hopefully by the end of this semester, I can find a trial date and give y'all a date to go show up in court and watch some live Superior Court trials. I'm going to try to do that. But watch the videos. If you have any questions about the trial process, let me know. Next week, we're going to move into the jury process, and then we're going to move on into criminal procedure from there. Okay? Any questions? Hit me up. Got discussion boards posted. Going to try to post a movie next week for y'all to watch. It's really good about juries. So if you have any questions, let me know. Good seeing you guys. Out. Talk to you later.